The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Fantasy, the brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5, $50 in bonus funds. Use promo code SGPN. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently early Friday morning, around 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time on August 29th. I'm Rosso Escarra, once again going solo for this pod. Random background in the middle of a different state. I'm actually in Pennsylvania right now. Ended up traveling, so either way, show must go on, but apologies, the show is going on later than expected. Either way, though, time to break down the third round of the U.S. Open. Before we get into that, though, Sorry about that. Before we get into the actual breakdown of the third round, a brief, once again, recap of what happened for the lock and dog picks. For the last round, unfortunately, did lose both, kind of an annoying fashion. Had a couple parlays, didn't work out. For the lock, we had the over 3.5 sets in the Walton and Wong match, which ended up cashing. But we had Kashanov money line, which was probably the worst beat of the round because he was up 2-0, had 4 match points, served for the match, and he choked it as he lost in a final set super breaker, picked up a loss for the lock. For the dog, we ended up having a pretty annoying loss as well, as we ended up having a parlay with Kim to win a set, and we also ended up parlaying that with the I'd say annoying loss of Fonseca over 3.5 sets. And of course, Fonseca did lose in straight sets, but either way, point has picked up a loss there. Pretty annoying, but either way, it is what it is. And I'll look for a better episode here for the third round. But before we get into the greater depth recap, a reminder that you should also support the show by like subscribing on YouTube. A reminder, you can also find the podcast on Spotify and Apple, so leave a rating and a review over there as well. Plus, a reminder, check the merch store on the SGPN website. We have a lot of great tennis merch. We also have a discount code right now for the merch store. If you end up going to the merch store and you use the code football, you get 25% off everything in the merch store. But a reminder, we also have a couple of contests that are coming in the season. We have a free roll for the football contest, which is back for you to enter. Picking every NFL game ATS, $3,000 to first place, $4,000 if you are a member of the Patreon. And a reminder, we also have a Survivor contest, $100 entry, winner take all. Enter at sportsgame.com/survivor to enter the Survivor contest. Anyway, for the deep dive that we ended up having for the second round, I'd say there were a decent amount of collapses, which I'll get into in a second. A lot of 5-setters, so pretty entertaining and long matches in general. But for starters, the first match ended up going 5 between Kim and Nakashima. Thought Kim would actually win the match, or we thought that he was alive to, and he did, as he ended up winning 7-6 in the final set. Nice competitive matchup, got the job done there. Oleshka ended up beating Echeverry in 4. We got that one right. Joker did lose a set. Desfaja did win in 4. Monkic beat Fonseca in 3. Lost the dog on that. Fonseca had a set point in the first set, could not convert. Bonzi lost the first 2 sets, came back and won in 5. Classic Giron loss there. Rude ended up losing. He was up 2-1, ended up losing to Collignon, and a bit of a shocking upset there. Collignon was around 4-1 on the money line. Nice job by him. Fritz started off slowly against Harris, ended up winning in 4. Nori beat Komasanya in 4 sets. 3 breakers there, which was unexpected, but either way, Nori did win in 4. Fekina fell apart, ended up winning 2 of the first 3 sets, lost to Rinderknech in 5. Thought that it would go over. I just didn't think that it was going to be Rinderknech winning, but Fekina got hurt, couldn't hit a forehand, ended up losing. You saw Mensik lose, a really weird season for Mensik, who has lost to, I'd say, inferior competition in multiple Grand Slams this year, but he has a random 1,000 title. So there's that. Tiafoe beat Dam in 4. Darderi beat Spizzirri in 4. Manarino, and they're beating Thompson in 4, which we called. Struff beat Rune, which was a bit of an upset there. We liked the over. Unfortunately, we thought Rune would win. He did not, as Struff did end up winning as a plus 240 dog, 7-5 in the final set. Alcaraz beat Bellucci, dropped 4 games, the most lopsided result of the entire round, and Shelton beat Busta in straight sets. So once again, a decent amount of 5-setters. Just from the actual Wednesday card, you ended up seeing a total of, just doing the matters, in one day. So once again, very entertaining day of tennis, and wasn't too far behind it. You didn't have as many 5-setters, but still a couple of drama-filled matches. Wong beat Walton in 4. Musetti killed Goffin in straight sets. Not surprised. I'm surprised Goffin actually beat Hallis in the first round, but Musetti got the job done. Rublev didn't make it easy against Boyer. Got the job done there in 4. The main story, though, before the matches took place was Draper, who dropped out of the event with an injury. Not surprised because he's injured all the time, but still disappointing when you're a top 10 player in the world and you simply put can't stay healthy. But either way, a point is Draper did drop out, so Berg's got a bye. So once again, pretty underwhelming set of circumstances there, but nonetheless, show must go on. You saw Kashanov lose once again, up 2-0. He had 4 match points, served for the match in the 5th set, and choked it all away. So that's how he lost the lock. Just a ridiculous choke job by him. Mychik was around 350 on the money line. A lot of dogs that ended up cashing in the round, so if you actually picked the right ones, you made a lot of money. Speaking of, Cerundolo, who came back from 2 sets down against Arnaldi in the first round, decided to give some of it back because he blew a 2-set lead to Reddy, and he ended up losing in 5. So Cerundolo blew a 2-set lead after coming back from 2 sets down in the first round, is what it is. Shapo beat Royer in 4. We called that like the over in the match that got there. Kaboli beat Brooksby in 5. We called that too. Thought Kaboli would win in 4 or 5, and like the over that got there. Sinner beat Popyrin in straight sets. Munar beat Diallo in straight sets. Bublik killed School Kate. Bublik looks fantastic. Simply put, beat Chilch handily, beat School Kate handily. He looks like he's maybe going on a potentially deep run, so watch out. He looks really, really good. Besides that, Zverev beat Fernley in straight sets. Felix beat Safulin in straight sets. Tsitsipas lost. We get to laugh at him one more time, so shout out to Tsitsipas for losing in a 5th set. It was close. He had a bunch of chances, couldn't convert, and then, of course, he double faulted when he was facing a breakpoint. Classic Tsitsipas, and Altmaier got the job done 7-5. You saw de Minaur, who beat Mochizuki in straight sets, and right now, Paul is tied with Borges 4-4 in the 4th set. He was down a break. He actually had 2 match points in the 3rd set, choked him away. Then he went down a break in the 4th, bounced back, got the break back. So once again, still a decent amount of drama today, or I should say on Thursday. Not as much as there was on Wednesday, but still a very entertaining and unpredictable round, and we'll see what happens moving forward. Now, for the comment section, by the way, just checking out who's available. Ginger laughing at Tsitsipas, so there you go. Yeah, once again, a lot of drama there. I see Mr. Wipeout asking about the WTA shows. Either the quarters or the semis, I'll try to bring it back for, so keep an eye out for that. Besides that, I see Mr. Wipeout giving out a horse racing play, journalism racing on Saturday. Still hate the name, but a good horse. Chelsea agreeing with me about Kashanov. Nothing else to add there. Definitely disappointing. I see Roth mentioning that he just got back from Queens. He had the date pass, so hopefully he had a good time. Haven't been to the US Open actually in a couple years. It was fun, but either way, definitely looking forward to going. It's Musetti play live. I know he dominated Goffin, but yeah, I imagine Musetti live is probably insane, just with the power it generates from the backhand, sitting that far back on the court. But either way, Musetti definitely, I'm sure, is a fun player to watch in person. Ginger, I will adjust WTA clown rankings. A lot to get into. You have the Ostapenko situation. You have the Goff crying situation because she couldn't hit a first serve. So a couple of things to break down there. I'll mention those in a second. I see Gojo asking about the de Minaur match. I might get into that in a second. We don't have lines, though. It's going to be tough to do. I think de Minaur is going to beat him. But once again, we'll see what the lines open up as. Yeah, Cayetano, SGPN does have a survivor. It's a $100 entry. So if you want to enter that with SGPN, you can. I see Mel asking about Kaboli if going to set against Musetti. I'll mention that match in a second. But once again, I'll save that for after the recap. Now, I do have to switch gears because I mentioned a second ago there was some drama on the WTA. I'm going to talk about it, not for a long time, but I have to at least acknowledge it. The Ostapenko situation against Tauson. Now, we know Ostapenko won in the first round as she ended up beating Wang. She ended up choking a massive lead in the first set against Tauson. There was a net cord that benefited Tauson. She won the point. In fact, I believe after the net cord, she won, what'd she win? 8 of the last 9 games, I think. And Ostapenko had an argument with Tauson after the match where she basically said, you have no class, you have no education, and basically just said she has no etiquette. That was kind of the main takeaway there. Tauson brushed it off because she won, so why would she care? And then, of course, we had a media storm about it. First of all, there was a racism component because people thought that Ostapenko, by saying the class and the, of course, once again, behavior situation here might have been a racist thing. For the record, I'm not going to say that. I think that at the end of the day, you have to remember that she is not speaking English as a primary language. So, for example, when you say that you have no class and no etiquette, let's say that she said, instead of all of that, just said that Towson's a dumbass. Let's say she used that exact terminology. Would we say she was a racist? Probably not. I think it was a matter of the class part and the education part, which rubbed people the wrong way. I understood what she meant. She meant that when it comes to net cords, you're supposed to behave a certain way. There's supposed to be a knowledge involved with the etiquette to apologize. Look, I don't think that it's a racism thing. I think that at the end of the day, Ostapenko is annoyed, and I think that she's speaking English to a person that speaks English better than she does, and she did the best she could. I'm not going to argue about the racism. I will argue that Ostapenko's a sore loser, and that's where I'm going to agree with most people. I think that the entire idea of fake apologizing for the actual net cords is a stupid practice, which I think really serves no purpose besides pretending to feel sympathetic towards her opponent. So I know we had a saying in high school, wasn't the same thing. It was ping pong, though. We had one teacher who every time the ball would hit the net and it would go over, he would say, sorry, not sorry. That kind of sums it up perfectly, because you're kind of faking an apology to pretend that you feel bad, but you're clearly trying to win. So at the same point, of course, Towson didn't care, because it wasn't a winner, first of all. Ostapenko got to the ball, took a bad shot, and Towson lobbed her. So it wasn't even like it was a winner off the net cord. But still, Ostapenko let that, I'd say, carry over into the next 9 games, and she lost 6-1 in the, once again, final set. I think Ostapenko's a clown. She was top 7 in the clown rankings. She was number 7. She's going to be bumped up to the top 5. I'll have to do another rankings adjustment over the weekend. But the main point I'll make here, I'm not going to fully dive into the racism component here. I'm not going to call her a racist. I think that's definitely stretched. I'd say it's exaggerated. At the same point, though, I do think she's a sore loser. I do think Ostapenko is an overrated player, and I think Towson had a very nice performance, and she dominated in the final set as she coasted 6-1 in the second set. But the racism part, I will disagree with. I think that's a little bit of, once again, kind of jumping the gun, in my opinion, and people trying to make a race controversy out of everything. I think it was more of a language barrier thing. And Cayetano's saying that Europeans could sometimes use words like education for manners. I clearly think she meant that Towson should have apologized and she doesn't have good tennis etiquette. That's one thing. But once again, she doesn't exactly speak English as well as we do in America, so I'll give her a pass. But if you don't want to, that's your opinion. I care more about her being a sore loser. But the racism thing, I'm not going to call her that. I think that it's definitely a stretch, in my opinion. Anyway, we also have Goff, who won in straight sets, yet was crying because she couldn't hit a first serve and double faulted a ton against Vekic in the first set. She was already on the list for serving. I might have to move her up again. We'll see what happens. But the main clown ranking storylines is the Goff serving and, most importantly, the Ostapenko, I'd say, situation and the drama associated with it. But either way, it's going to wrap it up for the recap of the second round. Time to move on into the third round preview of the US Open. For that, the reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, MyBookieAG. Is using to bet on football, college football. They have, of course, a brand new NFL Super Contest, $100K, only $15 entry fee. And a reminder, they're offering a great deal. Buy 2 entries, get 1 for free. MyBookie, though, has the ability to accept customers on locations, use crypto for deposits and payouts. When you sign up for a new account, use the code SGPN for 100% bet back bonus up to $500 for new customers. MyBookieAG promo code SGPN. We're also brought by Rhythm. Check out the models. They were absolutely cooking for college football once again on Thursday. But either way, check it out for college football. Check it out for the NFL. Check it out for WNBA and all the other sports they have. They also have a brand new leaderboard with weekly cash prizes just for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets of the same type. From any model, you can build and you can win $1,000. Also, check out the free trial link that we have with Rhythm. Use the link sportscam.com/rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the recap of the second round. Time to move on into the third round preview. Starting off with the first match on the actual card, we're going to go with Bonzi against Rinderknech. So for this one, You have Bonzi, who's been living dangerously so far in the first two rounds, as he ended up beating Medvedev in that insane 5-setter, and then on top of that, he ended up beating Giron down 2-0. Now, for this one, Bonzi's favored, -130. Rinderknech is +111. For the over-under, I see 40.5. Now, for the head-to-head, Rinderknech has not been too good in the head-to-head, as Bonzi is currently 3-1. In fact, he's won each of the last 3 meetings. So they faced off on grass. The most recent meeting, though, was 2022, so nothing really that recent, but still, Bonzi has won 3 in a row. Now, Bonzi said before, beat Giron and Medvedev, and Rinderknech, though, did beat Fokina in 5 and ended up beating Baena in 4. Now, Rinderknech proved in Wimbledon he has good stamina. Had a couple of marathon matches against Zverev, against, I'm trying to remember who else he faced off against. I want to say Fritz, maybe. Point is, though, he had a couple of long matches, and I thought he looked decent when it comes to holding up physically. So I do think for the sake of this matchup, I understand why Bonzi's favored, but I think I'm going to go with Rinderknech here. I question how much Bonzi has left in the tank after being potentially injured against Medvedev and having to go 5 against Giron. Giron did end up beating Navone in 5 in the first round, but he was in really bad form entering the event. So Bonzi, I understand, has still made it to this point, which is impressive. Do I want to lay 130 with him? No, I really don't. I think it's going to be a close matchup. If it goes 5, I do think I trust Rinderknech's conditioning a bit more than Bonzi's. So I think I'm going to go with the dog here at around +110. The argument would be based on price for me. You could argue that if it was going to be, for example, let's say Bonzi -110 apiece, maybe I'd argue there's value on Bonzi, but at -130 for a guy battling an injury, I just can't make that argument. So I'm going to go with Rinderknech here at plus money. If you want to go for the combo play, which did really well, by the way, I think I undersold despite going 0-2 on the lock and dog picks. If you actually back the plays that we had for the matches that we broke down in the preview section, we actually kind of dominated the entire card. We got a lot right, including the both players win a set with the player money line angle. We did very well. So it actually worked out last round. I'll go back to it. If you want to go for Rinderknech to win and both players to win a set, you can get that at +225. Great price. I'll go with that. Give me Rinderknech in a war, potentially going 5 sets. Moving on to the next match we're going to talk about here. Going to look at Darderi against Alcaraz. Now, Alcaraz absolutely destroyed a fellow countryman for Darderi. He's ended up beating Bellucci. Damn, he got destroyed. I got nothing else to add. It was an ass kicking. He won 1 game in the first 2 sets combined. Alcaraz, though, looks great. The haircut, not so much, but the game's been looking pretty good. Darderi's been good, too, though, as he ended up beating Spizzirri and beat Hijikata. Now, the money line, of course, is massive. Alcaraz is -6,000. Darderi's around 16-1. For the spread, 8.5. So if you think Alcaraz buries him, then take him. If you like Darderi to keep 1 set close, maybe you have a chance of getting there anyway. If he ends up losing 2 sets comfortably, but does end up making 1 set close, over under 28.5. So we know Darderi's not really known for being a good hardcore player at all. He had Hijikata, who's been bad recently, and he also had Spizzirri, who's mainly a young challenger guy who was able to get in because of either qualifying or just being a wild card in general. So Darderi, nice job making it here, but he's not really known for being a good hardcore player. So with that being the case, I think I'm just going to make the argument that I think Alcaraz kills him. I just think it's going to be a blowout. Darderi, I think, has a pretty good serve and forehand. Alcaraz, though, is just significantly better, obviously, and Alcaraz looks incredible. So I understand the argument is that Darderi has solid weapons and he can, in theory, showcase the forehand, try to prevent Alcaraz from really just doing whatever he wants around the court, and you could maybe force shorter points. The problem is, I do think Darderi mentally can unravel very quickly. And we saw it work to his benefit when he won over in the clay season. The problem is sometimes he might overdo it, and if he ends up falling behind early, he might just mentally check out. And I do think that Alcaraz, who's going to hit a bunch of returns, of course, he can do a bunch of variety, he can make Darderi uncomfortable. And I think Darderi, if he falls behind early, might end up imploding. That's kind of my argument. So maybe you might want to wait until after the first set. It wouldn't shock me if Darderi ended up getting a competitive first set result and then rolled over after that. But Alcaraz, at the end of the day, I see Van mentioning that Belly was about 14-1. He has no weapons. I think that's the main story here for Bellucci, so I agree with you. But I do think you're looking at Alcaraz, who probably should bury him. The problem is, the number's so low at 28.5. You're looking at what has to be a 6'4" and a couple 6'3s in there. I think Alcaraz is going to kill him. That's kind of where I'm at. Alcaraz in straight sets is minus 325. I like Darderi as a player, but I'm not going to overreact to him beating Spizzirri and beating Hijikata. I think Alcaraz kills him. So I'll go with Alcaraz with the basic training haircut to get the job done here in straight sets. I see Van asking if I think Rinderknech is Medvedev without the return game and movement. See, I don't know, because Rinderknech can win matches at the moment. So I don't know what Medvedev is at this point. Medvedev is a whole separate can of worms. Right now, he's number 2 on the clown list as the updated rankings. 1 is Tsitsipas, obviously. I had to put Tsitsipas there. But Medvedev at this point, he's a lost cause. At least Rinderknech can win some matches, and he beats Zverev in Wimbledon. That counts for something. I get what you're saying. They both have the same very tall, very skinny frame, which does make them look similar. Rinderknech, though, can hit 130 and change on the serve. So I think that it's a little bit different, but I get what you're trying to say. But I'm not the biggest Rinderknech fan. But I think in his matchup against Bonzi, it's not that bad. I see Cayetano mentioning that Alcaraz might be, once again, a guy who might self-destruct in the event. Van mentioning Tommy Paul, who I was watching the match, saw I double faulted on breakpoint. So once again, Borges, who just choked, serving for the 4th set, trying to serve it again to force 5th. Anyway, moving on. Looking at the matchup between Shelton and Mannarino, which wasn't Chopin, actually. I believe it was last year, and Mannarino did end up winning in 5. So Mannarino, we know, has figured it out again. Thank God. You know that I'm a big fan of Mannarino. On a separate note, by the way, after the U.S. Open, when they start doing the Astana and the random hard court events, you better believe we're betting Mannarino in a couple of those. Just throwing that out there as a spoiler. We will be betting Mannarino in at least one of those events. But Mannarino's been good. Beat Griekspoor in straight sets, Bagel in the final set, ended up beating Thompson in 4 Cincinnati. He won 3 matches, beat Paul, beat Makic, beat Thompson again, lost to Sinner. 6-4, 7-6. It's pretty good against Sinner. You lose only by 3 games against the best player in the world? That's pretty good for Mannarino. Shelton, though, has been amazing. He beat Buse, beat Busta. Yes, I know that those are 2 guys who might not be worth much on paper. Busta, no offense, past his prime. But Shelton, of course, is a massive favorite. Shelton's about minus 550. Mannarino's plus 415. For the over-under, I see a 37.5. For the game spread here, I see minus 5.5 for Shelton, plus 5.5 for Mannarino. The over 3.5 sets is minus 160. The question is, will Shelton win in straight sets, or will Mannarino actually win a set? I think Mannarino's going to win a set. You could argue that he's actually live to win it. I'm going to pick Shelton. I think Shelton has just too much firepower for Mannarino. But we do know Shelton's unforced error issue can be prominent. And if you end up seeing a spot where Mannarino keeps the ball in play very flat, Shelton's first serve percentage drops, suddenly you have a lot of long rallies, and Shelton is going to be very, very careless in the long rallies, which can result in free points. I think Shelton wins. I think Mannarino does not go empty-handed, though. I will pick him to win a set. Give me the, once again, signature play on the show. Give me Shelton to win the match and both players to win a set, and that is available at around plus 130. You're turning a minus 550 favorite into plus 130. Sure. I think at the end of the day, it's going to work out that way. So I'm going to go with the Shelton in 4 as my pick here. Either way, I do think you're looking at a spot where Shelton wins, but I'll give Mannarino some props. You know what? He's earned it. Because I'm a big Mannarino guy, and at the end of the day, you're looking at a situation where I just think Mannarino will not serve well enough to get the job done. We'll see. I see Billy asking if Paul's cooked. Cooked's a stretch. I'm actually talking to my friend who is with me right now traveling, and I think we said that Borges was 6-1 when he was down 2-1, and I like the price on Borges. I thought that 6-1 was an insane price when we know Paul is an absolute lunatic. So I'll put it this way. Borges is no stranger to losing in 5 sets. So I actually think Paul's going to win in 5, but he hasn't even forced a 5th set yet. So I'm not going to overreact. But I do think that if you're asking where I think this match is going to go, I'm going to pick Paul to win in 5. But I do think you're looking at a spot. Let's go. We're going 5 here for this matchup. But my prediction is Paul in 5. That's what I thought. I think that my friend said Paul in 5 was, what did you say it was, 240?
340.
340? Yeah, so it's 340 halfway through the beginning stages of the 4th set. I still like it. You want my scoreline prediction? I'm going to go Paul 6-3 in this final set. That's my thoughts. Borges still not a great server. Paul's a head case, though. I actually live bet Borges to win the 4th set. So I appreciate him choking 3 times just to finally get it done. But either way, I'll go Paul in 5. Then again, we've seen so many 5th set breakers in this damn tournament that it wouldn't shock me if it ended up being a marathon 5th set. I'll go Paul 6-3 if I had to go for a prediction in the final set. I see Van mentioning the Manarino matchup. See, I'd agree with you, except for the fact that Manarino beat Shelton already in a Grand Slam. I know that Shelton's gotten better since then, but I didn't forget it. I thought it was a bad matchup the first time around, too, for Shelton, but Shelton lost outright. So you can argue that even though it's supposed to be a daytime match at around 1:30. So trying to see if it's on center court. It's on Louis Armstrong, so we'll see once again how the heat and everything's going to play a factor, but it is an early-ish match at around 1:30, but with the schedule, might be delayed a couple hours, we'll see. So either way, at a spot where Manarino, I think he falls short. Would I lay the games with Shelton? No, I don't want to. I don't mind the over. I'll keep it close, but Shelton winning the match. Moving on to the next match here. Looking at the matchup between... We'll go with Djokovic against Norrie for this one. It feels like they face off against each other every time, and Joker always wins, but we'll break it down anyway. So Djokovic, minus 1,000. Norrie's around plus 660 for the spread, minus 6.5 for Djokovic, plus 6.5 for Norrie. The over-under is at 33.5. Set spread, Joker in straight sets is minus 120. Norrie to win a set, is minus 110. The over 3.5 sets is plus 100. So for the matchup, we know Joker owns him lifetime. Norrie's never beaten the damn guy. Djokovic is 6-0 lifetime. So for the meetings, faced off a couple times this year, actually. Faced off on clay in Geneva. Joker lost a set, shockingly. Did win in 3. Faced off in the French Open, though, and Joker did win in straight sets. So you're looking at what has been a very lopsided history between them. Norrie's only won 1 set 2 times. Joker's won the other matches in straight sets. I think Joker wins in straight sets. Yes, I know he got off to a bad start against Svaja. To be fair, I thought Svaja played very well in the first set, and Norrie might try to prolong the match by creating long rallies. The issue is, we talk about it every time, Norrie has 0 firepower at all. Joker flipped the switch. I know I know that Svaja got injured in that match, but Joker ramped up the aggression, dominated the rallies, and I can see that happening here against Norrie. He has no firepower. Joker can just chill behind the baseline, take all the time he wants, and pick the right shots. It's why Norrie will never beat him. Give me Joker in straight sets here. I think it's a spot where Joker just rolls, in my opinion. You could argue maybe 1 set goes to a breaker. That's fine. But in reality, Joker should win this in straight sets. I don't mind the spread here at 5.5. Joker did lose a set to Svaja, and he covered 7.5. Once again involved, but still, the point is Joker was able to dominate a couple of sets and break away in terms of the spread. I see that happening too, so I'll go with Joker in straight sets. Now, I see Van saying that Borges is creating a bunch of break points, and we know that Tommy Paul is not trustworthy at all. I faded him in the 4th set, so I already got a win on that one. But I did pick Paul in 5 entering the actual match, so I'll stick with it. If Borges wins, would I be shocked? No. I think Paul's a lunatic, too. A lot of head cases on the tour. We've seen a lot of them. I see Van mentioning Kashanov, of course. Paul. You can go down the line. Tsitsipas, of course, but that's a given at this point. Medvedev. Shapo won today, but that's never easy. A lot of guys you can't really trust on tour, and Paul's definitely one of them. Moving on to the next matchup here for the 3rd round. I think we're going to skip into the next day, actually. So going into the matches on Saturday. Now, we're missing some lines, so apologies. What ones do we actually have? I see Sinner against Shapovalov. Sinner's a massive favorite, obviously. Sinner's minus 2,500. Shapo's 10-1. Spread 7.5, and the over-under's at 31.5. The only question, will Shapo win a set? Set spread, Sinner minus 2.5 is minus 175. Now, Shapo ended up beating Royer in the second round in 4, beat Fucsovics, who was off of the title in Winston-Salem. So he was exhausted. He called for an injury timeout. Classic Fucsovics, and Shapo won. Sinner, though, killed Popyrin yesterday, and Capriva was a waste of time. So do I think Shapo's going to win a set here? Faced off one time in 2021. Shapo beat him, actually, in 5 sets. Do I care? No. I think Sinner buries him. I got nothing else to add. Don't mind the Shapo team total under, potentially. The issue is Shapo's unforced errors and the mental, I'd say, state that he's typically in is very, very, I'd say, volatile. And we saw Popyrin, who also has an unforced error issue. Sinner just wore him down. It was as simple as that. I understand Shapo maybe keeps one set close. That's all I got. We went into the event thinking that Sinner would coast into the basically semis, and that's what I'm still picking. Give me Sinner in straight sets. I got nothing else to add for that one. Moving on. Actually, look at the team total for Sinner here. It's at 19.5 minus 155. It's juicy. I don't fully hate it, but nah, I think I'm basically good on this one. Give me Sinner in straight sets. Moving on to the next matchup. Once again, kind of short on lines here, so apologies. Let me just quickly see if there's anything else. I am saving a couple of plays, by the way, for the lock and dog. Spoiler, by the way, I will not be doing parlays. That was a waste of my damn time. I'll go to the Musetti match against Caboli. I know somebody asked about that before. Musetti minus 200. Caboli is plus 160. For the spread, I see 3.5 games in favor of Musetti. For the over-under, I see 38.5. Fun matchup between two guys that can be very streaky. Musetti, though, has been great. Beat Goffin, beat Perricard. 0 break points faced against Perricard. I know that he can't serve. I mean, he can't return, but still, that's pretty impressive for Musetti, at least, now facing a break point in 4 sets. For Caboli, though, beat Brooksby in 5 and beat Pizarro in 5. I question the stamina for Caboli. Yes, he's young. Yes, I understand he's got a lot of talent. And you can argue that he's better on hard court than Musetti. Back-to-back 5-setters, not a great spot when your opponent lost about 6 total games against Goffin in the last round. I think I'm going with Musetti to win this, in my opinion, in 4. I'll go with the spread here. I think that he's going to win. Caboli physically might break down. We'll see what happens, but 3.5 feels kind of low. You're looking at Musetti, who's been really good in the event. I know Caboli's been surviving. Brooksby was a marathon. Pizarro was a marathon. I think Musetti's better than both those guys. I know Brooksby can be unorthodox and dangerous, but I do think that Musetti's looked better according to the eye test so far, and winning in straight sets easily, comparing a 5-set marathon, gives you an advantage in terms of rest, or at least recovery time. So I'll go with Musetti, in my opinion, the spread as my main angle for that one at minus 3.5. Last one we'll talk about, going to look at a matchup between Majcik and Riddy. For this one, Majcik minus 167. I see Riddy at around plus 133. Spreads at 2.5. The over-under is 38.5. Now, Majcik pulled off a miracle and beat Kashanov last round. Riddy did a similar thing, not as dramatic, because the 3 sets against Sorrento that he won were definitely more straightforward. But the point is, I do think it's a spot where it should be a competitive matchup. Never played before in the head-to-head. But you know what? I think for this one, I'll go with Majcik. I don't feel great about it per se, but I think Majcik's just a guy that I like. Kind of bias involved, but I liked him watching him play in the clay slate, and he made a good run in Wimbledon. I think that he is just a very smart player. He started volleying a bit more against Kashanov, more kick serves, more volleys. I just like his variety. Has some drop shots in there. Riddy's more of, I don't want to say a one-trick pony, but he feels more of being a power player with no finesse. And I do think that Majcik's finesse and, once again, shot choices can really frustrate Riddy over the course of this 4 or 5 setter. So I'll go with, once again, not a straight set win, but I'll go with the favorite here, Majcik, to win, in my opinion, 4. If you want to go for what I said before, which is the usual play, Majcik to win, both players to win a set, plus 178. I like the price. Give me Majcik in 4 for that one. It's going to wrap it up, though, for all the matches we're going to talk about for the third round. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. The lock and dog, reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, Arctic Fantasy, do our best mania, happening all summer long. 2 million prizes, 2 months first place, and a waiver wire. No trades, and your reminder, you can also use Underdog for pick'em entries with the 5 double faults. They have aces, they have breaks of serve. Check that out as well. Brand new offer though for Underdog for new customers. Put just $5, $50 in bonus funds. PN. We're also brought to you by Circa because they're hosting a couple of really big NFL contests coming season. It's Circa Million, Circa Ever, Circa Rendissimo. Over $20 million guaranteed prizes. And a reminder, you'd also sign up at Nevada, play from anywhere with our proxy service at footballcontest.com. Use code SGP, get $50 off your proxy fees. And don't forget that the contest does end, or does, I mean, the latest you can actually register for the contest is Saturday, so that time runs out. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Scam Podcast. Finished going through the preview of the third round. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. For the lock, I said before, I was saving 2 matches that I did not mention before for the lock and dog. Going with a total, I'm going to go with the Struff and Tiafoe match. Give me the over, 38.5 games here at minus 126 on FanDuel. Both players serving very well in the event so far. Tiafoe winning 85% of his first serve points. Struff's winning 78.5%. Both guys we know can serve well. Should see a breaker or two. They've had a couple of marathons as well over the last couple of meetings. Each of the last 2 meetings did not end in straight sets. French Open match went 5. Faced off in Stuttgart in the title match, actually. That went 3, and I believe every set was a breaker in that one. Struff, though, beat Rune. He looked very good. Tiafoe played a similar opponent in the last round, beat Dam, who's the young American, big serve lefty, not really any experience in Grand Slams. And that was a war. Tiafoe ended up winning that one in 4 sets, but the match did land 47. So Struff has arguably a better serve than Dam. He's a better player than Dam. He's been really bad this year, but you know what? He looked very good in the first couple of rounds, beating Rune, and he also ended up winning his first round match in 4. I think that Struff's serve is good enough to neutralize Tiafoe's return game for at least 1 set, and I think you're going to end up seeing a decent amount of either breakers or long sets. Tiafoe tends to win, but he never makes it easy on himself. He beat Nishioka in straight sets, who's been in really bad form lately. Dam, I understand, is a talented young player, but he's ranked 431st in the world. He's Rune. Can, I'd say, limit the rallies by coming to that a bit more. And Tiafoe, we know, can be a bit inconsistent with the serve. I'll go with the over. Give me 4 sets in this one, maybe 5. But I like the games here. Give me the over. 38.5 games, my lock, at minus 128 for the lock. For the dog, I'm going to go to the Fritz match against Kim. For this one, give me Kim to win a set at plus 106. Fritz ended up having a pretty of a scare against Harris in the last round. He was down a set, was almost down 2 sets, actually. Fought back in 1 and 4. I know Harris called for the trainer. The point is, though, Fritz has not really been winning comfortably recently. And Fritz, over the last couple of Grand Slam events, has been dropping sets left and right. So ignoring the Thompson retirement match in Wimbledon, Fritz has lost at least 1 set in 8 of his last 9 Grand Slam matches. He tends to win usually in 4, give or take, or 5. But I think Kim is a pretty good player. We liked him against Nakashima. He ended up winning outright, served well, solid overall game. And Kim and Fritz have been serving very well in the event. In fact, their serving stats are pretty much dead even. Both Kim and Fritz so far in the event are each winning 75% of the first serve points. We saw Kim win a breaker against Nakashima. I know Fritz is better than Nakashima. Point is, though, Kim's serve is pretty good. He's 6'6". He's got size. He has rally tolerance, and he's got a pretty good serve. Fritz, we know, tends to make matches more difficult than they need to be. I think that Fritz probably, but I think Kim will not go home empty-handed here. Give me Kim to win where Kim is probably going to lose, but I think that Fritz, who lost at least 1 set in 8 of his last 9 Grand Slam matches, including against Harris in the last round, will lose a set here. Give me Kim to win something at plus 106. Once again, the lock and dog for the third round. Lock's going to be on Struff and Tiafoe over 38.5 games at minus 126. For the dog, I'm going to go with Kim to win a set against Fritz at plus 106 and wrap it up for the show. Back once again for the 4th round of the US Open. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.